have sewn together the lining and the outside, and I have trimmed down the seam by leaving about a quarter there, and I've zigzagged all the way around. So in theory I should be able to do this. Take the inside sleeve and push it through. You actually didn't need to push this sleeve through. This is the one that has to be pushed through. One side and the other side. Okay. Allowing for a few things that need to be pushed out, like the points. This is a squared off collar rather than a rounded off one. The way I do points is I pop the closed scissors into the point very carefully and just gently push it out. If it's still a little bit uninterested in coming to a point, I get a quick unpick and just open it up some more. I won't do the other one right now.
Ingerith, I found it, a chopstick does wonders.
Chopstick, as long as it doesn't go through the fabric. Whatever works to push the point out. Scissors which are closed are fairly blunt and will do the job. Okay. Now right now, there's not a lot of finesse to this garment. As you can see, the lining and the outer layer are fairly loose and floppy. When you have actually finished this garment, you will be stab stitching all the way around. To remind people what that's all about, where's my stab stitching picadilles gone?
Are they under there?
Here they are. These are Josh's picadilles. This one has been stab stitched. You can see the little black marks on the inside. This one hasn't. There's your two differences. And have a look on the other side. See how the right one's puffy and the left one's lying flat? That's what stab stitching is all about. It stops the lining from rolling out like that. So when you finish the whole garment, you'll stab stitch it down all the way around. I find it helpful when you're doing that is to use a sort of a rubbing motion to push the seam into its closest place. You can try ironing as well, and then pinning it together before you stab stitch it. But that's a little way away. Firstly, you have got a doublet with a lining. Now the next thing you need is a model. Okay, now we haven't put any ties on this yet, nor have we put the placket in, but I'll show you where you put it right now so that you know later on. This also needs to be stab stitched down. I haven't done that just yet. You don't need a liner if you've bought the canvas, but just because it looks pretty, we've done that. You put it in about an inch away from the edge, and you just whip stitch it down by hand all the way down. So it sits with one side loose, just like Jason's. But because his fabric was punch test proof just with one layer, I didn't bother lining it. That's been whip stitched down inside. Okay, and also he can wear it for court just by being flung back a bit, and away you go. Now, it'd be a good idea at this point in time to just pin or somehow join him up, because what you really need to do now is work out how you're going to do this edge. You can either sit on the floor and go around and pin them two together, because it's on him, you've got a nice smooth finish. What you do is you tuck under 5/8 of an inch, that good old 5/8, the outer layer all the way around, and the inner layer all the way around, and you need to make sure that that is tucked in and under, because what you want to achieve when you join them together is a beautifully smooth corner. And you do that all the way around, making sure that the lining doesn't roll. The issue with that is that if your front and your lining are at different lengths, it'll pucker under, so you have to adjust and adjust and adjust until it's dead flat. When that's done, you can take one of the pins out, join the two together, and then whip stitch all the way around, as per Jason's lovely doublet. You may not be able to see it close up, but that's been whip stitched all the way around. There you can see a little bit there.
Hang on, let's hold it there. I think we get it.
Okay. Once you've done that, you can choose to stab stitch it or not. I did, for a very good reason. Because when you add the trim, you're actually not adding the trim through the whole garment, you're only adding it to the top. So if you stab stitch the whole thing around, then you know all the way around. You also do that to the sleeves, the same thing. You work out the length you want for the sleeves, turn it under 5/8 of an inch, turn the lining under 5/8 of an inch, or whatever the required length is to make the two fit. Okay, and make sure that they aren't twisted in here, that the lining's not twisted inside, so make sure that the seams line up. Okay, whip stitch again and then stab stitch. Now, because we've already stab stitched here and around here, you don't need to do it, but if you're like me, you could go around with a small tacking stitch and make sure the lining and the outer are never going to move apart. You don't need to do it, it is not required. Okay? Now, the other thing that you can then do, picadilles, the flat side goes towards the body. You fold it in half, find out where the centre is. The centre sits over the top of the shoulder. You take it in, as you don't want it there. There is too far over. Just a little bit off the main. Careful, sorry. And pin it as far as it goes on a slight bend. If you want, you can copy Jason's. And then whip stitch it down, probably from the outside, in the outside colour. If you have your braid already, you can add that first before you whip stitch it down. I need to get some braid too. And what you do with the, I'll explain the braid in a minute. Okay, so they're the picadilles, either side, that, whatever. Now your ties, you can use hooks and eyes, probably one every 2 inches. You need a nice strong one here at the waist because there'll be a lot of pressure there.
Would you use 2 there possibly?
No, just a big strong one. Okay. And then a couple more underneath. Jason's only got a couple below this. A little bit of opening you need because if you do lunges and things, you don't want to find yourself garroted.
Ingerith, you're suggesting the 12mm hooks and eyes?
12mm hooks and eyes from birch with a hump in the centre if you're going to use hooks and eyes. If you want, you can use buttons and loops, but if you do those, the loops have to be sewn in before you sew the seams together here for strength. If you want to use ties, like cotton ties with aglets, you can sew the ties on afterwards, one either side, but again, it's a good thing to sew them within the seam because it's stronger because it's done by machine.